All right, welcome to the 10 podcast subseries Tech Culture with Better Culture. And today I'm here with a special guest co-host.
Kevin Hensel.
Thanks for being here. I know we're recording back to back, so every time I do this, I'm like, and you are again.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Glad to be here, Shonna. Thank you.
Thanks for being here. So we're going over the 20 tenets of Better Culture. We're on Tenet 8, which is
Saying thanks.
okay. So tell us more.
Sounds pretty simple.
It
doesn't
does.
It?
Yeah, it does.
However, most American workers feel as though they are underappreciated for the work that they do. Strangely enough,
Mm-hmm.
right? Such a simple act of saying thanks. But I think it's difficult to be intentional about that,
Mm-hmm.
right? I would imagine, anecdotally, a lot of us believe that we're probably expressing some form of thanks or gratitude far more than we actually are, or that it's being
Mm-hmm.
heard. Some of that could be in not necessarily being creative in ways in which we're saying thanks and speaking that individual's love language, if you will,
Right.
of how it's being heard.
Hmm. This is really interesting. So before we started recording today, I was like, yeah, I think I'm winning on this one. And this is like one of 8 so far because I'm like, I feel like there's always opportunity to grow, right?
Mhm.
But tell us more about how you or the Better Culture team sees people maybe thinking they're being grateful or showing appreciation and maybe not being as effective as they think they are.
Mhm. I think it's commonplace to certainly acknowledge folks and thank them for a job well done when it's maybe over and above,
Mm-hmm. Oh,
um,
sure.
right? When something's kind of really outstanding or over the top,
Mm-hmm.
great accomplishment or a huge sale, whatever the case may be, right? We've hit a milestone on a project, but I like to say thanks to team members for just coming to work every day, right? Because it makes an impact when they're not there. I've been challenged sometimes by individuals, leaders, supervisors who will say, well, but right, isn't it kind of patronizing and insincere to thank people for just what they're supposed to be doing? No, right? I'm appreciative when people are doing what it is that they're supposed to be doing.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And so I think there are probably more opportunities to be thankful, right, and acknowledge some gratitude than just waiting for those kind of wow times, if that makes sense.
It does. It does. It reminds me too of I've known of people who worked for companies in the past where the acknowledgement for like tenure came many years after their start date versus like just thank you for being here for 1 year, for example, you know?
Absolutely.
And so it's interesting to think about like, okay, I can see where you're like, well, yeah, of course you would be here for that long. Like this is a great company to work for. But just acknowledging people's willingness to stick with it and be committed to an organization, for example, something that we all take for granted as an awesome opportunity for the individual
Mhm.
should be appreciated as well.
Well, and it's a win-win,
Mm-hmm.
right? When folks feel appreciated, they're willing to give a little bit more,
Mm-hmm.
right? If I know, wow, I'm adding value, and that value is acknowledged rather than being taken for granted,
Sure.
it motivates me and connects me more to the work that I'm doing and the people that I'm doing it with.
Right. Yep. This makes a lot of sense. I'm sorry. Now I'm pausing. I'm thinking about, this makes a lot of sense on many different levels. Like even in your personal life, when you think about micro achievements and how those not many, what am I thinking? Incremental steps toward the big thing you're trying to get done. Celebrating those successes, celebrating those little wins along the way really make a difference. So you're not like, okay, in a year, I want to achieve X big goal. All the steps along the way make a big difference.
Right, right,
Mm-hmm.
right. I've heard unfortunately too many stories where folks don't really get any type of recognition until that annual evaluation, right?
Mm.
But exactly to your point, what are all the milestones and the steps and the small successes along the way before they've hit that ultimate annual goal, or
Mhm.
again, whether that's a sales goal or a project goal or a customer recognition goal.
Right.
Um, right, just coming to work every
Yeah.
day in engaging, being dependable and reliable. I'm incredibly thankful for people to do that.
Mhm.
I think some of it, going back to we may believe that we're grateful and providing some form of thanks more frequently than we are. A little tip that I want to be sure that we share during this saying thanks tenant
Mhm.
is a little trick that we call the 5 penny technique,
Okay.
and that's starting your day with 5 pennies in your left pocket and throughout the day, acknowledging some form of gratitude, right? Thanking someone in some form or another. And every time you do, move one of those pennies to your right pocket. And the goal is at the end of the day to have no pennies in your left pocket, right?
Mhm.
It's that very intentional thought of, oh, yeah, I need to find something. It's easy for us to skim over when things are going right. It's the things going wrong that really tend to stand out,
Yep.
and so it's the intentionality of purposefully seeing, wait, no, I need to recognize that and thank
Mhm.
them for that.
That's really awesome, and it's interesting because it's literally a shift in mindset because it's like, of course, this kind of I'm still thinking about our last conversation about this kind of punitive approach where we're, like, always correcting, and so that's just the natural way of doing things,
Hmm.
which serves a purpose for
Hmm.
sure, but at the same time, being grateful for people's contributions and appreciative of what they bring to the table is just shifting the mindset from like, I'm only going to coach you or provide guidance when things are not going the way I want them to go versus providing that reinforcement or encouragement for you to keep doing the things that are going well.
Right, right.
Hmm.
How do we catch people being good?
Yeah.
Right. And when we acknowledge the behavior that we're looking for, it
Hmm.
increases the likelihood we're going to see that behavior again.
Yes. So good. And folks, I promise you this also applies in your personal life and the way you speak to yourself. Because if the words that you're telling yourself are constantly like, you can never do X thing that you're trying to do, you'll continue to not do those things because that's what you expect from yourself.
So true.
So it's true on all fronts.
Yeah, right?
Hmm.
Which is the point of our tenants,
Yep.
right? It's the attitudinal and behavioral norms that help make us more successful at work
Hmm.
and in life.
Powerful. So this should become the um, 8 culture series or whatever because we get through these very quickly. But it's just like it's very succinct and just it's so good. So thank you for this. And just a reminder, in case this is the first time anyone's listening to this sub series, that if you contribute to the comments and share how either you have used or will use the guidance shared in this episode in the comments, you'll be entered into a drawing for a digital gift card of $100 from a retailer of your choice that offers a digital purchase of a gift card
Love
at
it.
the end of the 20 tenants. So should be around the July 2024 timeframe. But anyway, just keep listening in. I know it's a long stretch, but it's worth your time.
I
So
love it. I love it.
anyway, Kevin, thanks again. This is so good. Thank you.
Shauna, thank you.
Yeah.